40 is a big number. Jamal Murray just dropped it in a Game 7, and now you can get 40% off at The Athletic by going to theathletic.com/thinkingbasketball. They feature huge names like David Aldridge and John Hollinger, and also have great in-depth bubble coverage for every team. You can download the app, customize who you want to follow, and you also help support this channel by heading over to theathletic.com/thinkingbasketball for that 40% off. The Denver Nuggets stunned the basketball world with another 3-1 comeback, this time taking down the Clippers in the second round. How do they keep doing this? How much of that comeback was LA's defense collapsing? And how much of it was the incredible play of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray? Let's start with the Clippers' defense. Denver regularly targeted Lou Williams down the stretch of these final games. Unlike what we saw from the Celtics' last video with Kemba Walker, the Clippers don't protect Lou as well by preemptively switching to keep him away from mismatches. That made Lou a juicy target for Denver. They bring him into the action here, and Jokic sets a second screen involving his defender, Montrezl Harrell, who is limited as well, and he wants Lou to switch back to Jokic, but it takes a beat and the Joker has plenty of airspace to launch a moon ball on the pick and pop. It's the exact same set a few plays later for Denver. Lou lunges at Murray's shot attempt, and that allows Jamal to backdoor cut. Kawhi has to help, and that's another wide open three. They come back to it again. Lou is skipping behind the play, and this is not how you want to defend pick and roll. JaMychal Green's a bit late to help at the rim, so Murray glides in for two more. This was the theme down the stretch of Game 6 for the Nuggets, gashing the Clippers' defense off this action, leading to wide open threes, and Denver rarely missed. In the Nuggets' comeback in these three games, that's the second and third quarter of Game 7 and the second half of Games 5 and 6, Denver scored 142 points per 100 possessions when Jokic and Murray were on the court. Some of this was just absurd shot making by Murray. He only needs a little airspace, Kawhi loses him behind the screen, and when he's feeling it like this, there are few players alive who can match his shot making. The 10 pounds or so that he put on during the layoff have really helped shed contact on plays like this. He's still balanced enough to flow into a jumper, and he's shown more burst off the dribble, just flying by defenders in the bubble. He's also been more aggressive in Orlando. Paul George sort of meanders around this screen, thinking the shot isn't a threat, but the blue arrow is loose. When Murray gets into a flow state like this, it's like Popeyes suddenly had his spinach, and it reminds me of watching Isaiah Thomas in the '88 finals just all the time. Murray's explosion has made his two-man game with Jokic deadly. That ability to just fly into pull-up threes while worrying about all things Jokic has unlocked the Nuggets offense, something we discussed last month. And extra attention on Murray frees Jokic up, and he's an elite extra passer, and at this point the Clippers are in desperation scramble mode, and some beautiful game passing ends in a three ball. One key here is that Jokic has turned into Dirk Nowitzki this summer, dropping jumpers from all over the court, and that means he's a deadly pick and pop partner for Murray, especially against the drop coverage LA played. Zubac is trying to keep Murray in front of him, so Murray's like, I'll just pass it back to Serbian Larry Bird over here. And that shooting threat stresses defenses. Zubac is antsy to close back to Jokic, and the hesitation leads to a layup. Murray and Jokic also play a two-man game on one side by themselves, and their passing and shooting synergy is really difficult to contain. George has a brief lapse, and that's enough for Murray to curl around and find Jokic. Big Honey is shooting a sweet 44% on 6 threes a game in the playoffs right now, and while that's going to come back down to earth, his stroke just looks completely dialed in, and his aggression attempting these shots turns him into an offensive juggernaut. Even at 37 or 38%, this kind of three-point volume strains defenses, to say nothing of the Sombor shuffle off of one leg. And remember, skinny Jokic is a touch quicker now, and on a number of occasions his slow motion speed was an issue for Zubac out high, either getting around him with the dribble or drawing fouls. Jokic's passing in these 3 comebacks was as good as ever, and it also exposed issues with the Clippers' defense. With Kawhi down behind the play here, it's a 5-on-4, and JaMychal Green overreacts to the corner threat, and Jokic makes that pass in his sleep. Here's one of those perfectly timed cuts from Michael Porter Jr. we looked at last month, which gets George behind the play, and again it's free throws. This was a great little read where Millsap senses Kawhi and Morris are going to switch the screen, so he catches them sleeping and slips to the hoop, and this is all child's play for Jokic. Perhaps his best dime across the 3 comebacks was this key play in Game 5 where they fall back on the 2-man game, Murray breaks free on the cut, Jokic looks at it but then spots Kawhi helping. And so if Kawhi is helping, then he must have left his man open. Why not try that craziness? Jokic looks at the wing that relaxes LA's weak side defenders, their hands are down, and with 4 seconds on the shot clock, it's worth the risk for this kind of high reward pass. All of his incredible passing made Doc Rivers' choice to double team Jokic pretty questionable. I think this only works with the right team level defenders, and you see Kawhi Leonard's just late on this basic help here and it's a layup. I only counted a few post-ups during the comeback without a double team. Paul George's great passing lane length caught Jokic here in Game 6. And then in Game 7, Nikola returned the favor with this beautiful cutter pass, and he only needs an inch or 2 to drop dimes like these. Otherwise, Denver had the same approach to attacking these deliberate double teams. This wing cuts through to the basket, the corner slides up to take his spot, the baseline fills to the corner, and that's just easy money for the Nuggets. Here it is again, the wing cuts when the double comes, Jokic looks to the opposite wing again and completely fools Kawhi, who sort of gave up on the cutting Harris like he's playing the Cavs on a Tuesday night instead of a passing god. LA sent doubles like this a few more times in Game 7, and it was usually just target practice for Jokic and the Nuggets on these plays. Finally, Murray's nuclear shooting. He's making 49% of his threes in the playoffs on 8 attempts per game, stressed the Clippers to the breaking point, so they started trapping him in Game 7. That put Jokic in the short role as a passer to decide which wide open teammate he wanted to hook up with. Here, Murray lobs it to him, and he looks the defender into the corner briefly so he can find the red-hot Paul Millsap, and it was just about all she wrote for the Clippers. Some of LA's traps were successful down the stretch, but in the end, it was too much Jokic and Murray for LA to handle, and fittingly, after a brilliant series, Jamal punctuated the win with a fadeaway 3 right in Kawhi's grill, and the Nuggets advanced to the Western Conference Finals. What a performance. To support this channel, head over to patreon.com/thinkingbasketball for extra videos, articles, a historical database, and more. These have been the most entertaining NBA playoffs in years for me, so I hope wherever you are that you're enjoying them too, and as always, that you're having a great day.